Test, test. Test, test. There we go.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. We're going to get going. Thank you so much for attending tonight. My name is John McNamara, the Superintendent of Schools here, and this is our second budget forum. We appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us tonight. Joined here tonight by a bunch of members of my team. Anthony Cedrone, our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Steve Moran, our Assistant Superintendent for PPS, Stephanie Scolari, our Executive Director for Human Resources Administration, and Christine Kim is with us as well this evening, so thank you for joining us, Christine. We have members of our Board of Education here tonight, Adam Fisher, our Board President, Tara Cassidy, our Board of Education Vice President, and trustees Jennifer Perfetti, Anthony Greco, and Laura Reich are here as well. So thank you all. This is, as I mentioned, our second forum. We do 4 forums throughout this month and into the beginning of April. This focus for this one tonight is our capital projects. I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Last week we kind of did a general overview of a number of things. Anybody that was unable to be at our last one, that presentation is posted online as well. So if you have any questions about that, take a look. I'll go through some of those pieces tonight, but I'm going to go through them a little bit more quickly than we did on last Monday evening. I'm really kind of focus on the capital piece tonight. We have 2 more forums after this. Forum number 3 will be in a couple of weeks. It'll be on April 2nd. That will be also here in the high school cafeteria. And the focus of that will be on personnel, where we'll take a look at the staffing changes that we anticipate between this year and next year and give you an overview of that. And then we'll do a full summary at our last of our budget forums, which is our only daytime forum. For folks that that may be more convenient for. That's at 10 a.m. At our public library on Wednesday, April 3rd. So that's the forums. In addition, we have some focus groups that'll be taking place as well. The registration for those is available online. So anybody that wants to join us for a focus group, those are just small group conversations with myself and Anthony Cedrone. Where we really just answer questions, speak to a couple of pieces of the budget, but then really just small group conversation, any concerns or questions folks may have. It's a small conversation that we do in a Google Meet, a Zoom kind of format, just to be convenient for folks. There's 3 of those scheduled that you can register for, and then we add more as needed. So please feel free to sign up for those. The link is right on the website on our budget page. And then we have a budget survey that went out last week. The link to that is also available online. If you'd like to share any thoughts about the budget that way, you can do so through our survey. We've already got a number of responses to that survey last week when that went out, so please feel free to do that as well. Goals for our budget. One is, first and foremost, we always want to continue all of our outstanding programs. We also really focused this year on taking another look at our elementary class sizes to further reduce those. One of the goals that we are able to accomplish as well through this budget. Our UPK program has been very successful for the past few years. We've been able to really expand that. We're looking to maintain that at 8 sections for next year as well, so I'll touch a little bit upon that. And then capital projects, always an important part of what we do, maintaining our facilities. So I'll spend a good amount of time on that this evening. And security has been another piece that we've really been focused on. We had a 3-year plan to enhance our security, and this budget will accomplish the next phase of that expansion of security and security hours across the district, and a couple of security projects as well. Positive financial news, we're seeing an increase in foundation aid, which is terrific for next year. That's been a topic of conversation, and you've seen that in the newspapers over the past several weeks, where some districts were negatively impacted in terms of financial aid. We were not one of those districts, fortunately, and we continue to see some improvements in that area. So that was definitely a positive. We're also coming off a bond referendum. I'm going to touch upon a little bit of that tonight. And we'll speak to our fiscal stress score, which is also heading in a positive direction as well. Here's where we currently are. This is our budget. When we spoke about this last week, we were still working to get to the cap, really kind of reviewing each line, and we're there. This reflects all that work over the past several months to review all of the proposals. And this budget puts us at the just slightly below our tax cap at 2.72%, which is a levy increase of $1.7 million and a budget-to-budget increase of 2.2. So the budget-to-budget increase is 2.5%, and the tax levy increase 2.7% in where we currently stand. We touched upon this a little bit last week. I'll just kind of quickly touch upon this tonight. We can continue to see really outstanding results in terms of our commencement level, outstanding AP scores. You can see our AP scholars and scholars with distinction, really solid numbers there. 66 across the graduating class, which is terrific. And you can see our really continue to post extremely high graduation rates, some of the highest in Nassau County year in and year out, which we're extremely proud of. Our students are doing well and leaving here with a diploma, as they should. And then this just kind of shows you the college course participation as well. You can see we have a number of students that in the last graduating class that are taking at least one college course by the time they leave here. That's 90% of our students that fall into that category. And you can see we have, going all the way down to 6 college courses, a third of our students are taking courses at that high level. So that's great to see as well. And these are some of our new offerings for new courses that have been proposed by our staff that we've included in this budget. And there's a new 2 new middle school electives, Broadway Tech and a game design course that I know a number of our staff members and students are excited about. We're tweaking the way our Math 7-8 course is going to run. That's an honors course, an advanced course in 7th grade. And then our high school electives, a new proposal in arts in terms of ceramics and sculpture. Our art program has really been expanding. Students really seem to be flocking to our art offerings, and this would be building upon our intro courses in those areas, and then a proposal as well for to build upon our choreography and dance course to have an advanced level course there as well. This is the UPK that I was referencing earlier. You can see we were anticipating 8 sections for 144 students. This year we served 130 students in our UPK program. By the end, after we did our lottery and went through the process, everybody that wanted a seat received a seat. Currently that's the process we're in right now. We have 144 spots. We do have a wait list of about 25, 30 students or so. And that'll evolve over the next several weeks. So that's, really, when you look where we were in 21-22, well, even going back to 2021, we didn't have a UPK program, to the point now in 24-25, we're going to be serving 144 students. It's really outstanding. This was a big area of focus for us this year, as I mentioned earlier, and it's our elementary class sizes. Continue to focus on bringing those down. And really, we've been in good shape, Forest Lake, Mandalay, and really continue to work at Wantagh L, our largest school. You can see some of our projections for next year. Continue to bring those class sizes down. We're going to be adding a section in 4th grade, which is one of our larger grades there, for 6 sections next year. Expanding our 1st grade from 4 sections to 5 as well. And then we'll continue to watch our kindergarten enrollment as that comes in. So all positive news in terms of our class sizes heading in the right direction as well. Security enhancements I mentioned before. These are some of the items that we've been really looking to improve upon. Expanded security coverage and hours. I don't go through this in detail because I don't want to highlight any areas that we may have concern about, but this would be continue to head in the right direction. As I mentioned earlier, there was a 3-year plan that we had in place, and this will be year 3 of that 3-year plan. We're also in the process of working with a new security vendor to upgrade our lockdown system and our security camera system. And part of the proposal that you'll hear tonight in terms of our capital improvements will be to upgrade our PA system. Obviously, the backbone to our security in the building. That's a critical piece of infrastructure. Our PA systems are starting to age out a little bit, and we want to replace them in this upcoming school year as well. All right, so capital projects. These are all the facilities, big facilities projects that we have, and there's a few different ways that we can do that, right? One way we can improve our schools' facilities is by direct allocations within our budget. We do a transfer to capital, and we're able to achieve projects that way. We also have a facilities line within our budget where we do smaller projects, flooring replacements and things like that. And then capital reserve funds. So I'm going to speak to that a little bit tonight because we're proposing an expenditure out of our capital reserve fund as well as a creation of a new capital reserve fund. Bond, which we did successfully. We had 2 of our 3 referendums pass last December, and I'll highlight a couple of the work that's going to be done through that tonight as well. And then grants. We've been really successful in the past few years of receiving some grants to improve some of our classroom spaces, and I'll highlight that tonight as well. These are the 2 propositions that were successful in our December vote, Proposition 1 and 3. Proposition 1 is an infrastructure project to replace windows and our HVAC systems in all of our buildings, along with the electrical upgrades that we need to do for that work to be done. And that was a $39 million bond that was approved. And I'll update you where we are in that in a second. And then Proposition 3 was some of our cafeteria renovations. Here, a full cafeteria renovation at Wantagh High School, and then the kitchens at each of our elementary schools. Our library renovation here at Wantagh High School, and also our bathroom renovations across the district. So just in terms of the proposition that was not successful, it was our district auditorium and our athletic fields. So here's where we are with the bond projects. Although at this point, projects have been designed by our architect, and then the next step in that phase is to then submit those projects up to the state education department for approval. Just like when you're doing work in your home, you get a permit. We get permits from the education department, so we have to submit plans to them, and then it's a back and forth with our architects and the state education department. This is one of our biggest challenges when doing projects because of just the extended timeline. The projects go into a queue at the state education department, and right now it's anywhere from 24 to 30 weeks for approval of projects. That's what it's typically running. So after our architects design all the projects, that's several months, and then submit them. Now we're waiting anywhere from 6 to 8 months to get final approvals on projects. And it's slow over the past 12 to 18 months. It's slowed down pretty significantly. The approval times were much quicker, but it has slowed significantly over the past year and a half or so. So that's where we currently are. We have SED approval for referendum 1 for all the electrical upgrades and the unit ventilator replacements. That's been approved. So now we're in the process of preparing the bids to go out to contractors. And you can see the window replacements, that's in the final stages of SED review. It's probably about 6 to 8 weeks out from final approval for that project. And then once we have that, then we can go out to bid for those as well. The other challenge, and particularly with the electrical project and the unit ventilator project, is our timelines for our lead times for parts that we need. Electrical switches right now have an extremely long lead time. It's up anywhere from like 16 to 18 months. So once we award a bid, then those parts are ordered, and we need those pieces to come in to complete that work. The unit ventilators are about 50 weeks or so. So it gives you a sense of where we are in process. Once bids are awarded, then we would start that phase. And you can see in referendum 3 where we are. We're just awaiting final SED review for the cafeteria renovations and the library project. That's still up with SED. But we have seen approvals for the first phase of bathroom approvals, which are doing 2 bathrooms, 2 sets of bathrooms here at the high school, bathroom over at the middle school, and we're just waiting on approvals for the 2 gym bathrooms at Mandalay and Forest Lake. Those will be projects that are going to be happening soon. Definitely be completed by the end of summer. So those are in progress. And then, this is the lengthy list of things that we're still working through. So as we looked at other projects to continue to complete, these are some of the projects that are still on the list. Ceiling replacements, playgrounds, asphalt work across the district. These are big ticket items that we're going to still look to complete through either our capital reserve fund or through our transfer to capital. And I'll share with you a little bit tonight of where they kind of fit into this year's picture. But all things that we considered, our PA systems, all the athletic field projects, and so on. So I mentioned earlier the grants. These are a couple of grants that were successful over the past couple of years. We were able to accomplish renovating our art rooms at the middle school. We received over $600,000 in a state grant that we applied for, as well as 2 projects that are going to be completed this summer. One is a science research room here at Wantagh High School. We started a science research program, a more robust science research program last year. We had proposed that, and that first cohort is going through that this year. And one of the projects that we got a grant for was to redo that space. The bottom picture there is a rendering of what that space would look like. And then also we received a grant for one of our middle school science rooms that we're going to be completing. So we're close to $1.2 million in grants over the past couple of years that we were able to get to accomplish a good amount of facilities work as well. These are the capital projects that were approved last year that are currently in process. You can kind of see what we've accomplished so far. We had a new scoreboard put up out on an athletic field here at the high school. We have, as part of our renovation of the main gym here at the high school, we did some HVAC work that was approved by the community last year. And then ceiling replacements throughout the hallways of Wantagh Middle School. That work was accomplished this summer. And then of the approvals from last year, the other items are still in progress. We have roof replacements, a fairly large section of roof that will be replaced here at the high school. That's going to be going out to bid. That's been approved by SED and currently going out to bid. And also a section of roof at Wantagh Elementary School that will be done as well over the GP room there. That roof will be replaced as well. That work will be done this summer. And then door replacements. That's currently in progress. We've done some doors, but we're going to be doing more as we get closer to the spring. And masonry work, that's currently going out to bid. So that work should commence shortly. So after we got the approvals last spring, then we submit those projects up to SED for approval. Those approvals, as they come back, then we send those projects out to bid, and that's currently where we are. And then these are the projects that we're looking to do within the budget this year as a transfer to capital. We have a proposal for $1.5 million in projects. And this was all part of the larger five-year facilities plan that we did as part of the bond work. We knew certain projects were going to be done through a transfer, as some of our debt service was coming off our books, to then replace it with a transfer to capital while we were awaiting the borrowing that we're going to be doing for the bond projects. So you can see one of the proposals is to do some work here at the middle school, over at the middle school for the gymnasium. That floor needs to be resurfaced, new wall pads and some painting of those walls. We had done the ceiling painting of that a couple of years ago, so this will be the next phase of that project. Similar to what we did at the middle school, we're looking to do a hallway ceiling replacement here at the high school. As you're walking out, take a look up and you can see why we need to do that project. Our ceilings are extremely dated and in need. And as we do that project, we also upgrade our lighting throughout the hallways with upgraded LED lighting. Part of that project is doing those smoke detectors and hallway speakers as well. There's also a proposal to do some continued light work and sound work in our auditorium. Unfortunately, the bond referendum for that fell short. So we had proposed a $3 million renovation of the auditorium. It's our only auditorium in the district and is a tired space. To kind of continue to support our arts program, these are a couple of smaller pieces that we can do in the meantime with some lighting and a projector in there for some of their work. Asphalt replacements, you saw that large number. It was about a $2.2 million number across the district. This will do a portion of it, do about a quarter of it or so, and that would be at the middle school doing some of that asphalt work. We also have a proposal to do middle school floor replacements. There's about 20 classrooms that we've identified that we need to replace the flooring in. So that's also part of the discussion right now. And then we took a number of smaller facilities projects and grouped those together. It's some flooring work across the district. It's some door replacements and some fencing work. That's all grouped into that $300,000 number to get to the $1.5 million in transfer. And this is just a summary of those things. And this is the capital reserve. So in addition to the transfer, we have currently sitting in our account for our capital reserve, we have $1.2 million to do some work there. And these are the recommended, this is really the recommended project, which would be $1.2 million in PA system upgrades across all 5 buildings. And we're currently working with some vendors. We have a couple of different vendors coming in to just really evaluate this and looking at some of the different products there. Our PA systems are, the backbone to our safety and security, used every day in all of our buildings, and they're getting old, 20 to 25 plus years old, and it's time to upgrade those before they fail. So there'll be as I mentioned, 2 propositions on for voters in May. One is to make that expenditure out of the capital reserve, which is for the upgraded PA systems, and the other is to create a new capital reserve. We created a capital reserve back in 2017-18, and it was for $7.5 million. We're getting to the end of that where it's going to be fully funded. So we're going to be asking the voters to create another capital reserve fund to do some of those other outstanding projects that I mentioned earlier for $10 million and to do 10 years. 15 years for that as well. And this is some of our fund balance. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cedrone. He'll kind of walk you through those pieces. And you know what? I'll actually pause to take any questions on any of the capital projects before we transition to some of the fund balance stuff. So if anybody has any questions about any of the capital projects, I'm happy to answer those. Yeah. Yep. It's a slate roof. Yep. It's like an architectural shingle that looks like slate, but is not actual slate. Because of it's very difficult to maintain the slate. So it'll have that look and feel to it, but it won't actually be that material. Any other questions? All right, on to fund balance. It's a great lead-in. Great lead-in to fund balance.
Thank you. So same slide as last week on the presentation. The fund balance is made up of a bunch of different reserve accounts, which are retained at the end of the year, and you put money in, take money out. You're only allowed to spend that money on the items for a particular purpose, and most of the names of the reserves are self-explanatory. So workers' compensation, right, retirement contributions, repairs, capital improvements, which relates to all the slides we just saw previously. That's what funds those when there's money there. and unemployment. So you can only spend those reserve monies on budgetary items related to those expenses. The employee benefit accrued liability reserve is one that you can only spend for separation payments that are contractual in nature when people retire. And then the undesignated one does not, just as, again, as it says, self-explanatory. It's undesignated, meaning it doesn't have any particular purpose, and that you're allowed to keep 4% of your subsequent year's budget in that number, in that amount. The June 23 numbers are obviously actuals. The projected June 24s are just my crystal ball that I look at once a month from January through June. And you'll see the ones that are being funded a little bit more. Some of them are going down. You know, and again, the one that kind of moves the most is the capital improvements, because just as there's a proposition this May to expend from one, the existing capital improvement reserve, that would make it go down, and then you put money in, it goes back up. The others are fairly static. Most of them are either at or reaching their maximum amounts. You know, and the comptroller's office and/or state law will dictate how much you can put in there. So they're not free-for-alls. And most of them, are, like I said, are either there or pretty close. Fiscal stress score, as was mentioned previously, is something that the comptroller does every year when our fiscal year ends in June. They usually do that in the fall and release scores like around Christmas time, I want to say, in December. The items that they look at are kind of on the bottom left there: fund balance, operating deficits, cash position, and borrowing. And the actual ranges of the designations or the scores are on the top left. So really anything 24.9 and below is where you want to be. Our actual scores for the district from 2016 forward are on the right. And you can see they were low, no designation. Then they jumped quite a bit, and then we have been working to bring those back down, and the latest score was a 0, which is good. Year over year, depending on the condition, I would expect some fluctuation in there, but certainly well below 24. The work to quantify this, same slide as last week. We will attach numbers to those before the third presentation. Those are the common drivers, things that cause the budget from year to year to go up or down, but mostly those will cause it to go up. And again, we'll quantify those, but it's health insurance, retirement system contributions, negotiated salary increases. Insurance has been a tough one the last couple of years. Technology, cybersecurity, transportation. The second one is a good one in here, again, as was mentioned. You know, decreasing class size typically comes with an increased expenditure. It means an additional staff member or two. But those are the items that are driving the $2.2 million increase in next year's budget. And again, we'll quantify that now that the work is done and we've kind of reached that number. So you'll get a feel, again, by the third presentation on that slide when we put the numbers next to them, just how much each one of those is contributing to the increases. That's the first one, health insurance. It's gone up 33% over the last 3 years. It's been a little bit, I don't want to say out of control, but out of control. That makes it very difficult for us to put a budget together when those 10%, 11, 12% increases on average over a year for the last 3 years essentially eats up all of the amount of money that the tax cap provides to continue to run the school. It's gone on that chart. So it's been a little bit of a challenge, but we've been able to sustain that in the last, and I'll mention it because Mr. McNamara mentioned it last time, and I think it's worth mentioning. Over the last couple of years, as all the latest rounds of negotiations with all the bargaining units have happened, they have all agreed to contribute more. And they're absorbing more of an expense because their contribution rate went up. They're also absorbing their share of that increase. So it certainly helps in terms of putting a budget together that everybody's chipping in more. But those are very, very large dollar amount increases. And again, you'll see that on the slide when we quantify the previous one. Health insurance, I think by far, is going to be the largest one on there, maybe next to salaries. State aid, about 23% of the budget is funded from state aid from New York State. As it stands right now, it's $22.1 million. It's an increase over the current year, so that certainly helps to offset some of those larger increases that we're experiencing, but it doesn't cover them all by a long shot. The Senate and Assembly bills have been, I don't want to say introduced, but distributed, right? They've each made their own proposals up in the legislature. The governor did their, she released hers in January, as is typical. That's where the 22.1 comes from. And the Assembly and the Senate, they each do their own, and then they argue and debate and come to some sort of a final number between all three of those proposals. We don't know when that'll be. It's legally, technically due by April 1st, but if it's not, it doesn't matter. They get to it when they get to it. So we don't know whether there'll be any more in there for us or not, but right now the 22.1 is included in the revenues for next year with the increase over the current year. Summary? Or you want me to take questions on that stuff now? Or? So it's undesignated simply, again, meaning that it doesn't have a particular purpose. It's there, if you read articles about that in Newsday, they call it a rainy day fund, right? So that becomes designated if you had an emergency, you know, a roof, correct. When it goes in there, it's not at all slated to a particular project. It's 4% of the next year's budget, so that is the full amount. But if you had an issue with a roof or something catastrophic or major that you needed to fix, you could blow through a roof with that, yes. It could, yes. It would typically be used for something capital and an emergency, yes. Yep. Anything else? Good.
All right, so just to wrap it up, you know, I think this budget is able to accomplish a lot of the things that we had kind of set out to do in the beginning in terms of our goals, the biggest of which is to bring down class sizes at the elementary. Also, a number of really good capital projects that we're in need of doing that are contained in here, and at the same time maintaining all of our programs, which is always what we want to do each and every year. And I mentioned the focus groups in the survey earlier, so please feel free to participate in those as well. All of the resources will be posted on our district website. Mr. Cedrone updates that, and all of the presentations, the links to the videos, and then now that we're getting closer to our budget in final form, we'll start to put up those budget documents as well. And you can take a look at all of those pieces. And our next forum will be on Tuesday, April 2nd. And as I mentioned earlier, the focus of that presentation will really be on the personnel side, the staffing for the upcoming school year. Budget vote info will take place on Tuesday, May 21st. It's at all of our elementary schools from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And we'll take any other questions that anybody has. Correct. It was just on the main gym, the main gym. Yep, the original gym, not the north gym. Not air conditioned. Just just getting the. I wish. Yep. But that was just the existing HVAC upgrading some of those pieces, but not with it full air conditioning. All right. Seeing no other questions, we'll wrap up. Thank you so much for attending tonight. We certainly appreciate it. We'll hang around if anybody else has any additional questions. Have a good night, everyone.